I'm contributing this photograph of the Power Rangers to make sure that the future remembers these remarkable heroes.
We sure do, Miss Appleby. We sure do. Welcome, folks, to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1, an artist's perspective review. This is the first TV show review on my channel, but my established artist perspective review formula will come back. I'll be talking about the storyline, but also artistic influences, references and ideas from other movies and TV, plus anything else I feel is relevant for my review. Power Rangers is more, dare I say, artistically interesting and with merit in some seasons than in others. So while that is part of today's epic video, I will be talking more about the influences it had from TV and movies before this, as well as what it inspired thereafter in its own franchise and beyond. Power Rangers reflects the decade it was made in, with recent seasons feeling very in the now. However, I'm here to talk today about 90s Power Rangers, as that's the version I grew up with along with 2000s Power Rangers, which are the best. I'm most familiar with those seasons, and I'd love to talk about the impact the show had on me as a fan. This video is coming out in August 2023, the 30th anniversary of Power Rangers. Happy 30th birthday, Power Rangers! Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Before I continue, feel free to like, share and subscribe to my channel, hitting the notification bell for when my videos go live. To celebrate this franchise, let's start at the beginning. Our story begins not with Hayam Saban, but with the late great Stan Lee. Before Saban adapted a Super Sentai series into Power Rangers, Stan Lee tried to do a similar thing with an earlier Sentai, 1981's Taiyo Sentai Sun Vulcan. Yes, it is pronounced like that. Stan Lee could not find any investors for the project, and so the idea was put by the wayside. This is despite Toei, the originators of Super Sentai among other products like Voltron, which was brought to America. They already had a tangled web with Marvel, wink wink, having created their own live-action Spider-Man series in 1978. But further into the saga of bringing Sentai to the Western world, Saban Productions, later Saban Entertainment, they were a leader in co-producing kid shows from the 80s to the 2000s. Overseen by Hayam Saban and Shuki Levy, they were responsible for music made for kid shows. For example, He-Man, She-Ra, Inspector Gadget, and The Real Ghostbusters. They're also credited on 1992's X-Men the Animated Series legendary theme, collaborating with longtime star composer Ron Wasserman. Saban products were often more animated than live action, but MMPR helped them step into that world. In 1984, Hayam Saban was relaxing between business meetings in Tokyo, Japan. Flipping through the channels, Saban saw Sentai's then-current show, 1984's Chodenchi Bioman. Yes, it is pronounced like that. He saw
5 kids in their superhero costumes jumping around and kicking some monster butt.
Yep, that's Power Rangers' epic and well-loved premise. Seeing the potential, Saban tried to adapt what he'd seen and sell it to the Western world, business-wise, and this is why Power Rangers and shows like it have endured, is because a lot of money is saved, as up to roughly 50% of each episode of your proposed show has already been completed. It's just a matter of rescoring, redoing the Foley for and English dubbing the Japanese footage. Also reshooting footage with American actors to create a new show. Making the show on a low budget and with confidence in its success, you can stand to profit healthily in your business.
What a totally genius vision, Mr. Saban!
After cutting together a pilot adaptation of Bioman, and then later another pilot based on Kyoryu Sentai Ranger that MMPR would source footage from, Saban carried a VHS tape of his work around with him.
So retro.
He began pitching his idea to networks. All of them, apart from Fox Kids, at best thought it was too silly to work, even in adaptation, that or too violent. This was definitely a problem still when MMPR first aired. The action got a lot of parents complaining, even having the show banned in several countries. Anyway, Margaret Loesch, then head of Fox Kids, sought a new product that would be adventurous, fun and silly, and shared the same conviction as Saban that Sentai could be adapted and be successful. This was especially true after Margaret Loesch's child saw the pilot and gave his approval. So indeed, thank you Margaret Loesch's kid, wherever you're at. Saban's idea was unique at the time, especially compared to other superhero shows like X-Men, but also Batman the Animated Series. Both of those are age appropriate, but they also have a definite edge and maturity to them too. Think more the 60s Batman, mixed with Voltron and Japanese monster movies, and Power Rangers is the result. With Power Rangers, whatever year it comes out, they tend to use the Sentai from the preceding year. The show started in 1993 and used footage from the last season completed in Japan in 1992. This has mostly been the constant in the making of Power Rangers, but let's talk about the initial season's production. The concepts for MMPR went through a fair bit of refining, the type of show both Saban and Fox wanted, for one thing, but even just the title, Rangers, was always going to be included, inspired by what Sentai often does, but it was originally going to be called Dino Rangers, also Galaxy Rangers at one point. Saban evidently held on to those titles, recycling them later on with Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, and then initially Power Rangers Dino Thunder. Power Rangers has many dinosaur-themed seasons, and corresponding names that have Dino as a prefix in the title. Dino Charge, Dino Fury, etc. But quick committee thinking named the first season. It was just going to be called Power Rangers, which sounds snappy by itself, but they wanted a title with the same number of syllables as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and so Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, named by Hayao Saban, came to be.
Yeah, right, and I'm a Ninja Turtle.
It wasn't intentional, but the name Morphin...
That means to change.
Yeah, it sounds like morphine, but that mustn't have occurred to anyone making the show back then, and so it stuck. For the first 3 seasons. On the subject, something I'd love to do for as many Power Rangers seasons as possible is talk about a Power Rangers show, and then compare it with the Sentai show it uses footage from, going back and forth between Japanese and American television, and finding the virtues and vices in each one. That will be the video I do in follow-up to this one. Before getting into the first season, let's talk about the pilot episode, made not for public consumption, although it was eventually shown on TV as part of a behind-the-scenes special. The episode is a rough version of what would be in the actual first episode, so I'm better not talking about how similar these episodes are, but how they differ. Instead of a gym and juice bar, the main social gathering point in the pilot is a bowling alley.
Excuse me! Trying to pull a strike over here?
Also the cast, their characters are definitely more energetic teens with attitude, other than David Yost, who's nerdier here as Billy, and with different glasses.
How prodigious.
And Austin St. John, who dials it back, partly as sadly he turns in a bad performance in my books.
Use your crystals to activate the dino power now!
But it's just the pilot. His acting only improved from here in the Power Rangers franchise.
Come on, Ranger!
Anyway, speaking of the cast, the initial call was for a show called Phantoms.
Phantoms? Like the movie with Billy Zane?
Good guess, but wrong.
Which is a weird working title, I'll be completely honest. But the idea of what kind of show the actors would be in came across. They wanted people with a Beverly Hills 90210 look. Gymnastics and or martial arts experience was essential, and they needed to be 18 but play younger. Way to combat those child labor laws, guys. The auditions narrowed down to 2 casts. A tall, model-looking cast, and then the one that Saban wanted, which is the talent we had ultimately. I'll be drawing fleeting comparisons to Saved by the Bell in this review.
Saved by the Beat.
As that show was on its way out by the time Power Rangers came in. Much like 90210 as well, actually. Both of those shows have enjoyed revivals long after the fact, which just goes to show the popularity of them. Also the 30-year cycle of nostalgia, where, after said time frame, things come back into style or relevance, explaining why things are the way they are in Hollywood at the moment, with the 90s becoming cool and profitable again. In the 90s, Power Rangers virtually replaced the popular teen-tween sitcom, which is its own kind of American TV, also bridging the gap between that and the sci-fi anime show Voltron, updating the combiner mecha concept into live action. I don't know if I can call Power Rangers everything the TV show, but it draws on a lot of disparate parts and makes them work. Something I won't talk about, however, is Beverly Hills 90210 in comparison to Power Rangers, partly as admittedly I've never actually seen it, so what do I know, but also, based on a quick Google search, I feel it's too mature and serious, relatively speaking, to be compared to MMPR. You see? That show goes places Power Rangers dare not go. Unless we're talking about the 2017 reboot film, but even then. Anyway, the cast is the same, with the exception of Trini. Incidentally, you do hear ADR from Tweed Trang.
Trini here, ready to rock.
But in the pilot, she is played by Audrey Dubois. She's a tough, high-spirited, tomboy, stand-up-for-herself kind of girl.
All right, dweebs, dance!
I do like her take on Trini. The cast in the show proper is iconic, but it could have been interesting seeing her as Trini in the show. Dubois left the show after the pilot due to a pay dispute, and this issue is why she, along with many Power Rangers actors, left the franchise. With exceptions, but those stories will be told accordingly as needed. Dubois has appeared at Power Morphicon in recent years, receiving recognition for what she did, which is wonderful, although she's never come back to acting in general, it seems, despite still being part of the show's history. Another character played by a different actor is Skull, his actor being a stunt actor, not a character actor, and looks more like a 50s greaser than an 80s punk. Also, Bulk is the sidekick in this version, and looks like a hillbilly Winnie the Pooh or something with his costume. Another budgetary difference is the teleport effect. It's cool, but it looks like a morphing, distorting effect of the actors as they get sucked up out of picture. A better, more creative, if odd choice using reworked Zyuranger opening titles footage is the CG morphing effect of the teens turning into puppet animals, and dinosaurs that go along with their Ranger identities. I love this visual, but it means all the actors change in very unflattering ways into these creatures. The command center is rougher, made on a limited budget. It's very 80s with neon that has a limited green, blue, pink color scheme. Zordon, instead here named Zoltar, which was changed due to copyright, as Zoltar was the name of the wish-granting machine from Big, starring Tom Hanks, which is another Fox product, but whatever. They made the right choice, as Zoltar sounds cool, but I like Zordon more. The Rangers' Zords are derived from their mentor's name, and let's face it, Zolts or Megazolts are lame names. Zordon looks like he's in a lava lamp, but his head and tube are green instead of blue.
Hey, greenhead!
Alpha looks similar, but his costume is flimsier. I know, budget. The morphers are called transmorphers, and the morphing sequence uses Zyuranger footage with American footage awkwardly overlaid. Plus Rita's telescope vision is different, not that it wouldn't vary this season, however. The putties are designed the same as the Zyuranger foot soldiers, but the actual costumes are different. In adapting Zyuranger, all usable footage was extracted, and a team of writers hired to craft stories, based on a found footage aesthetic. So that was the rough pilot.
So what's next?
Now let's talk about the actual first episode, Day of the Dumpster. The pilot was also called this, but here's the real deal. Starting with the iconic intro, need I say more? It's so 90s, I love it. In TV productions, the intro is done last. Very helpful to the MMPR intro, which uses a lot of American footage from different episodes, plus Zyuranger footage. The intro would change, reflecting story developments, like the introduction of Tommy Oliver, new Zords, and Zord combinations, depending on where we were story-wise, similar to the Sentai. So after 10,000 years of imprisonment in a space dumpster, Rita Repulsa, great alliterative supervillain comic booky name, her and her minions are freed by two unsuspecting astronauts.
Unsuspecting astronauts.
And so now,
Time to conquer Earth!
the command center, or the Brandis-Bardin campus retreat building of the American Jewish University in California, is matted atop Vasquez Rocks.
This show is like so Californian.
The command center is iconic and instantly recognizable. It just goes to show that Marilyn Manson, who filmed his music video for the Dope Show here, well, he knew what he was doing. Take something you know, look at it differently, question it.
So that you're not always taking things for granted.
All right, noble.
But anyway, Zordon, portrayed by David Fielding, he is privy to Rita's escape and instructs his robot best friend Alpha to
Recruit a team of teenagers with attitude.
To combat the villains, in the form of Jason Scott, Zachary Zach Taylor, Billy Cranston, Kimberly Hart, and Trini Kwan. The teleportation effect of the teens arriving in the command center is from the first episode, and is very specific to this show, very analog, optical, and pre-digital, which is part of the show's charm. Cheaper, certainly, but it goes along well enough with the special effects in the Sentai footage to make it feel uniform. There are digital effects this season, but they're few and far between. This isn't the first Power Rangers movie after all. Or even the reboot movie. With Zack's Power Morpher, the shine of the coin and the quality of it shows they used the toy versions at the time. Interestingly, it looks like what Hasbro, who owns Power Rangers now, it looks like the toys that they make, as opposed to the legacy toys that more closely resemble the Zyuranger footage. For the US adaptation, the morphers say Power Rangers, whereas the Sentai version reads Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger. In fact, if you look closely, you can see the Ranger's weapons say Zyuranger. This is a quirk of the process of adapting Japanese television for the Western world, by making said Japanese show not look Japanese. A behind-the-scenes mandate that had to be followed. That goal was often reached, but there are exceptions. The hell is he doing there? The effect of Jason morphing is iconic, even if it kind of looks like a cardboard cutout appears on top of him. It's a Photoshop After Effects job with the suit against green screen, but again it's charming. Given time, budget, and the standards of 90s television. Here's a seizure-inducing moment. Sorry, wrong clip, but you get the idea. We see bits of the Power Rangers logo form as flashing cards for 2 frames. As the Megazord forms, the MMPR logo appears as lightning strikes and the chorus plays. Great colours, pure hues of primary and secondary colours, with a little bit of pastel colour too. The black background helps them all stand out more. I love how the Power Rangers text has fire internally before turning green. The O in power has a lightning bolt, like a major part of the logo has, which makes it look like a power coin. Roll call credits. American footage on the left with a freeze frame of our characters. How 80s. I know this was filmed in 1992, but still. Clips with the Rangers and their weapons appear on the right, each clip split by a central vertical line, very anime. The line's colour going along with each Ranger's colour too. We see the morphers with the cast members inside, holding their morpher props aloft, with Ron Wasserman's Go-Go Power Rangers theme amazing. Let's talk about the theme song. Ron Wasserman,
which means waterman in German.
He created this masterpiece in one 2.5-hour session, as sometimes that's just how artists work. Even though this is a kid show, he wrote the theme to appeal to adults, which shows great musical vision. He had free rein on the song, the only suggestion being to use the word go, as Saban had previously had success with that, with Go Gadget Go, the Inspector Gadget theme. Wasserman had influences from Black Sabbath to Iron Maiden, but also Van Halen, which features strongly here. He even sang on it, having never sung on anything before recorded to tape. It's important to note that while we hear guitars, they were all created on a synthesizer with guitar sounds Ron had developed, as he does not play guitar himself, rather the piano and keyboard. It's a near-perfect effect in the opening theme. The closing theme has a note progression that one can imagine being played on a keyboard, but otherwise perfect. Previously, Wasserman had only sung on demos as guides for the actual singer.
So my high harmony is, you listen, it's really flat.
Even still, Fox and Saban heard it, loved it, and Ron became the singer. We see a sunbeam of sorts coming from the morphers, and a solid background of buzzing electricity, color-coded to match each character. The morphers are a little transparent due to how they're optically incorporated into the shots, the way the light comes from them, but they look cool. The rule of cool conquers all, especially in the 90s. We see the Zords flash by, then a freeze-frame group shot of the team with their power coins taken from the Sentai. Major stars of the franchise, Farkas Bulkmeyer and Eugene Skull-Skulovich are credited.
Very German sounding names, or Southern European, Or Jewish, at least.
This beloved duo is played by Paul Schreier and Jason Narvi, respectively. Their clip with them waving their candy floss. I say candy floss, not cotton candy, as I'm from the UK. Go figure. Bulk and Skull's nicknames comment on their body types. Bulk is big and bulky, Skull is skinny and bony. Gotcha. Here's a bizarre early memory. Bulk and Skull's candy floss, I always thought they were waving raw chickens, which doesn't work as chicken doesn't break apart like that, raw or otherwise. But, you know, they're bullies and anarchists, it's in their nature to do that. But I think I only interpreted this that way as it flashes by really quickly. Plus I was watching it on VHS, yes, I am that old, so it was harder to see what was really there sometimes. Some awesome footage of the Megazord formation, title card, and boom. Intro is exactly 1 minute. How economic. I wish my videos could be like that. So 2 astronauts travel to the moon. Supposedly, as last I looked, the moon wasn't red. Unless I was reading the Book of Revelation. Plus we see both the Earth and the moon when they land within this planet's orbit. So something's clearly wrong here. These two, clearly not Japanese astronauts, we get but brief glimpses of their faces, come across a space dumpster in the sand. Again, this is meant to be the moon, having followed a shining light. The jewel atop the lid of the dumpster reflected on the horizon. Yeah, the physics of this place makes no sense. But it's Power Rangers, a franchise where the moon can do, and in fact is like, all the things I just described. The astronauts open up the space garbage can, releasing Rita Repulsa and her minions, her gorilla dog in shining armor named Goldar, the bumbling comedic relief duo of Squat and Babu, who I always thought looked like alien versions of Bulk and Skull, and her monster maker Finster, a sensitive artist type.
I'm a sensitive artist!
The exploded dumpster is iconic, kind of looks like one of Saturn's rings, also like the ring on her magic wand staff that she used to blast the dumpster.
You'll miss my coming out party!
Go, Rita!
That's when I destroy the nearest planet!
No, Rita. Well, our main conflict is established. How will we follow up on this dramatic moment?
Angel Grove Radio.
Relief, 90s style. The Angel Grove Youth Center. I love the sign for this place, by the way, reminds me of the show's logo, but less bombastic. The colours are softer, more pastel. Nice yellow smoothie with the blue bottom of the glass. The green banner with the yellow text and the red for contrast is great. The background recalls a sunset on the water, minus the colour. I like the Angel Grove High School logo too, with the subdued colours, the iconic circular pastel green, yellow and white with a bit of blue. It's done on a budget, but cool. Among the folks working out in their 80s neon aerobics outfits, and those in karate uniforms, we're introduced to our main characters. Before we meet them, I'll say that Hayam Saban wanted a multi-ethnic cast of best friends that work together, very Gene Roddenberry. Therefore, kids can see themselves in the characters and relate to them. This is still relevant today in Power Rangers, though the Sentai, as ever, had an all-Japanese cast, and diversity wasn't an issue. In translating the Sentai to appeal to the diversity of the Western world, however, the characters were all different races. The correct choice to make, but they found they'd made an honest, if racially insensitive mistake in casting ultimately, which went unnoticed into way into production sadly, that being that Walter Jones, who played Zack,
the Black Ranger,
is African American, and Thuy Trang, who played Trini,
the Yellow Ranger,
is Asian, specifically Vietnamese. I know the producers saw the casting of Trang as a tie-back to the Sentai they were adapting, but again, that cast was all Japanese and Trang is Vietnamese. So again, perfectly well-intentioned, but those good intentions fall flat. Audrey Dubois, who played Pilot Trini, is not Asian, and I think having the cast like this better fills the diversity quota, despite the Rangers' races and their corresponding suit colours. With that said, when you're a child watching this show, I'll speak for myself, I didn't notice or think about any of that. You don't know what race, much less what racism is, or even what stereotypes are. You just see the characters for who they are as people, as intended. So there's enough community love here, as Walter Jones would say.
Community love.
To make it work. Casting choices for the Rangers were handled better in subsequent seasons after the mistakes made here, by and large. But the commendable thing, pop culturally in Season 1, is that these beloved superheroes were identified with by generations of people. How touching for the actors playing these characters. We're introduced to Kimberly doing her gymnastics. Oh, Kim's so gorgeous. Hey! I'm not the first to say that. Amy Jo Johnson, I had the biggest crush on you as a kid. In fact, I still do. Anyway, the characters begin with superficial traits, discernible personalities, and things to bring to the group, and their arc as a team is discernible, although they don't have much in terms of individual character arcs, despite lessons of the day being learnt and obstacles overcome. Kim is a stereotypical California Valley girl, or Val gal, a gymnast who enjoys the mall and hanging out with her best friend Trini. If Kim frequently chewed gum and had an open-mouthed expression, her character would be too airheaded and insufferable, at least in concept.
Excuse me, but will somebody come back to Earth and pick me up, because I am totally confused.
But she, along with the rest of the team, still have a charm and likability.
No way. Really?
Amy Jo pulls off her California accent really well, despite being from Massachusetts, so occasionally those East Coast vowels come through.
So what did you want to talk to me about? Thanks for reminding me about my poodle. And he is definitely out to get us.
Whoa, Kim, are you Canadian?
She does have enough Valley Girl lines to sell that she's Californian, though.
This plastic is gonna make a lot of credit cards. The only thing I can balance is shopping bags. Watch the do, okay? I just want a salad. Party crushers totally annoy me. There's no reason to spoil a perfectly good hair day. Whoa, I thought I was gonna end up in the mall as a mannequin.
Another one whose East Coast accent comes out a lot is Austin St. John.
He's coming at us! It's Morphin time! It's all over for you, pal!
This makes sense, as he's from
back east somewhere.
Never mind, I can buy it. People migrate. David Yost has it down as he's lived in Arizona. Thuy Trang lived most of her life in California, I believe. And Walter Jones is from Detroit. But most of them pull off the West Coast accent pretty well. Jason and Zach are often buddied together, training and hanging out as friends. As far as clothing goes, the teens always wear their respective Ranger colors. Jason's red bandana is very Rambo, also his vest, and on other occasions, a red button-up shirt and a maroon jean jacket. Even, comedically, a Where's Wally vest. Zach wears black, but often purple too. The color purple and Zach go hand in hand, especially as a Ranger, as the power, for lack of a better term, that exudes from him is often colored purple rather than black, which is a good choice, as otherwise it would look too dull, too dark against his Ranger counterparts. Other times, Zach's clothes had a mixture of orange, yellow, purple and pink, often stripy, and very 80s too. That, or this homogenized Rasta Jamaican Afro-Caribbean style clothes and colours even. Talk about cultural stereotyping and creative liberties taken, feeds into cliches. Zach's hair reminds me of Vince from Recess. Trini flies solo, very focused but chilled too. She's a skilled gymnast. Thuy Trang is no longer with us sadly, and it's the biggest shame ever. She tragically lost her life in a car accident in 2001. 8 years after MMPR premiered and 7 years after she'd left the show. An episode of Power Rangers Time Force is dedicated to her memory, as is the special Netflix episode, Power Rangers Once and Always. Thuy was such a talented actress, a sweet, kind-hearted person too. So much potential. She was, and still is, missed by many. Trini sometimes wore braces on her hipster jeans, very 80s, yellow tartan. In fact, a number of styles and outfits, like a cowgirl waistcoat, a flat cap like a Bratz doll, very chic, even like a hippie with her stripy top and crystal necklace. How 60s in this 90s show. And she even wears yellow to bed, like how Kim wears pink. Kim often wears a flowery gym suit, very 90s. A tartan hoodie tied in the middle, flower earrings, baby pink Doc Martens and flowery dress. Aww. She sometimes looks very 80s with her spotty purple dress and shocking pink, sometimes looking like a brunette Barbie doll.
So much pink.
Other times like a soccer mom complete with jeans. The blue, purple and cream in Billy's shirt is very 80s in one episode, though often Billy wore plain blue and looked kind of like Chucky from Child's Play with his signature dungarees. The bane of his existence. Very kiddie, and again very 80s.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
They do look cool and iconic though.
Yes, like one of Alvin and the Chipmunks, maybe?
David Yost is an accomplished martial artist, and it's a testament to his acting, as he often had to pretend to not be that adept at fighting, to play his character initially. His blue bandana and glasses remind me of both Leonardo and Donatello from TMNT. He's got Donatello's personality and nerdiness.
I'm president of the Science Fair Committee.
But the blue makes me think of Leonardo, the leader. Fun fact, David Yost originally auditioned for Jason, but didn't feel that authority in him as a person, and so went for Billy and got the role. His role, like the others, is iconic and special, although 30 years later, he did get to lead the team in Once and Always, so what went around came around. It's especially great to see him treasured like this years later, because David Yost is gay and was unfairly harassed to no end over this by people behind camera, taking a toll on his mental health, and ultimately leading to him walking off set one day during Power Rangers Zeo. This sad, disappointing fact speaks to the treatment of LGBTQIA+ people in the 90s, how society has become more inclusive ever since, and my heart sinks knowing that he suffered this way, but Yost did also feel like a kids' TV role model, a beloved superhero. The cast brought their athleticism into their auditions, tying back into the Sentai footage, but also to create these idealized, sporty, fit, kind and loyal teenagers who do their homework and succeed at everything. How relatable. Even so, the teens with attitude, platitude does occasionally come through.
Hey, dirtbag!
You're yesterday's news.
You mean like the alphabet?
Don't you feel a little out of place here? After all, an IQ is required.
Does she even know you're alive?
And I love it. Billy is full of technobabble, whom Trini translates for the other characters' benefit.
Translation, please.
David Yost often struggled with his dialogue, trying to simplify it down wherever he could.
A fully sentient, multifunctional automaton.
I do give credit to the writers writing lines with an ambitious vocabulary though. It's funny in hindsight that Kimberly being a girl is the Pink Ranger, and Billy, a boy, is the Blue Ranger. Talk about gender stereotyping. Seriously though, that's not the issue, but it doesn't take away from superficial characterization. They're a girl, so they wear pink. They're a boy, so they wear blue. Okay, we just need more going on with them as people. Some of the cast were innately better actors than others. Amy Jo is the best, lots of subtleties in her performance. Yost, Trang and Jones are about even, but Austin St. John is the weakest, initially.
We have to try. There's gotta be a way to stop that thing.
What's wrong with you? I know.
Alpha, Zordon, Rita and her minions, their actors all turned in great performances. It's just the characters as written that needs work. Better writing and good talent always makes for good, long-running TV. Some of the actors were more martial artists or gymnasts, the girls being more the latter, and the boys the former. Although Walter Jones combined martial arts and dance, what Zach calls hip-hop kido. Is hip-hop kido a silly idea? Yes. Is it awesome though? Absolutely. The legendary Bulk and Skull. They're stereotypical bullies, but Paul Schreier and Jason Narvi elevate their roles with their performances. They're very Laurel and Hardy, their physiques even matching that beloved duo. And there's also shades of the Three Stooges, even the Marx Brothers too with their comedy. Specifically when they interact with Principal Kaplan, whose toupee gets knocked off. That's a gag directly out of a Marx Brothers movie.
Mr. Kaplan is gonna flip his wig again.
Not so fast!
Their slapstick being influenced by silent comedies of previous decades goes along with my ideas about the 30-year cycle of nostalgia, relevance, and pop culture significance. In the 90s, the 60s came back. All those comedy acts would have been on their way out by that time, but they maintained popularity and influence as classics. The theme music and sound effects for Bulk and Skull reflect them perfectly. Big and bumbling and high-pitched and annoying. Lovably so. The score is mostly rock-driven. Wasserman's hard and fast rule for Power Rangers. But Bulk and Skull brought some levity.
Numbskull.
Without getting ahead of myself, Bulk and Skull have an arc over the course of the first 6 seasons of Power Rangers. This first season doesn't work towards their redemption of being bullies to becoming good-natured bumblers as much, but rest assured, that's where they end up. Bulk and Skull's wardrobe had a punk rock military style with some colour changes. Bulk wears a black beret. Who is he, Picasso? Also leather without a shirt underneath one time. Who is he, Jim Jeffries? He even looks like Donatello from Michael Bay's TMNT with a purple bandana, complete with gym jacket.
Such a metrosexual.
A vest over leather that was like a sunset at the beach, also with psychedelic colours.
How very 60s.
Bulk often wears a green jacket with a red B on the pocket. Good contrast. My favourite though is this weird leather headgear that I've only seen in this show, plus the movie, as he wears a variant of it in the film. Very 90s and fit for a motorcyclist. And a denim jacket. Skull often wears yellow Doc Martens, Sid Vicious style, and grayscale camouflage jeans, dirty pink shirt, chain necklace and red necktie, sunshades, dangly earring, and a grey military jacket. Congrats, Skull, you look like a Nazi. Oops.
A confused Nazi, at best.
At least he salutes the American way. Skull sometimes wore a skull vest, cool and apt, and his hair sometimes looked like Egon from Ghostbusters 2, other times like a greaser. Weirdly, he looked like a Gordon Highlander with his green beret, and his red beret with a question mark badge made him look like a Pokemon trainer. In fact, Bulk sometimes looked like a Pokemon trainer as well. When he wore his bandana, Skull also sometimes wore a wrestling belt and a green jacket. Bulk's long hair was often tied back in a ponytail, iconic, and in episode 1 he had loose-fitting clothes, hard, brown leather boots, again with kind of a Doc Marten style, leather jacket, jean jacket on top, white military belt, and a tie-dye shirt. As a long-haired dude myself, no, I've no desire to tie my hair back like Bulk. Paul Schrier's amazing, I just don't want to look like him. Although nice mustache dude. Skull's shtick was to hit on Kim.
Ugh, don't even mention such a horror.
While Bulk often hit on Trini. Gross, pathetic and desperate, and the girls are always unimpressed by this. Boys, here's an example of what not to do. Often when the bullies didn't get what they wanted, they'd turn on the teens and then slapstick hilarity would ensue. Nice and cathartic. Schreier and Narvi figured out their slapstick for each episode, taking their comedy seriously, and as well they should. It turns in good performances.
It's funny though.
Another of Skull's tropes is repeating what Bulk says to sound tough.
I want my mommy. Yeah, I want your mommy.
Talk about Freudian. Skull, I diagnose you codependent with Bulk. I mean, you're so dumb you can't think for yourself. Grow up, dimwit. Anyway, they're both dumb, but Bulk has a little more smarts as the leader of the two. There's a shutter transition from the juice bar to the moon, almost like a Venetian blind. Very chic. There's lots of inventive transitions in this show, from shutter transitions to variously pixelated ones. Also various anime-style transitions, ripple effects, page turn transitions, fade, circle transitions, wipes, open-close jaws transitions, ones with hard lines, melting transitions, ones with horizontal or vertical bars, spinning stars, image flips, ones that use triangles and diagonals, warps, splits from the middle, wavy transitions, and organic cracks in the earth transition, TV noise transitions, etc, etc, etc. Even a Goosebump style transition with dripping liquid.
Very 90s. Goes to show the complicated editing of the show, taking full advantage of the footage they had and manipulating it. Especially the Senai.
In dubbing the villains, everyone works well other than Rita. Barbara Goodson, who voices Rita in her best Wicked Witch of the West impersonation. I'm not kidding, that was what was asked of her in playing Rita. It's iconic, although the Sentai actress performance and Goodson's voiceover don't always sync up.
Just like a poorly dubbed Godzilla movie.
Speaking of voices, Goldar sounds different depending on the episode.
You and your weapons are no match for me. Prepare to feel the wrath of Rita Repulsa. Hands on it! I'm talking about you nitwit!
It's like he's going through puberty or something, but the character remains intact regardless of how gruff he sounds. Bulk and Skull want to be taught how to beat people up by Jason. Little do they know that martial arts is not for that, rather for self-defense. Talk about dumb insolence, selfishness, and a lack of respect. The juice bar wants to have kind of a 60s diner chill vibe, but the colours and designs make it feel 90s, which is still cool. Ernie, owner of the gym and juice bar and played by the late great Richard Gianelli, serves the teens some spinach juice. Gross. But then it's an earthquake. How very Californian. Help, evacuate. We meet our wise leader Zordon and his robot associate Alpha 5. I wonder what happened to Alphas 1 through 4. Alpha's suit is impressive. A bronze dome, flying saucer head, lights in place of eyes to indicate speech, elbow and shoulder pads, very 90s skater boy almost.
Whoa!
Red armor and electronics to make it light up, a yellow lightning bolt on his chest like the logo of the show, 2 push buttons, limbs that look like they're covered in vacuum cleaner piping, purple panels on the arms and legs, black gloves with red and bronze again, a black clothy neck piece between the body and the mask, and big comedic metal shoes. Also, his red underwear on the outside is very Superman-like. We'll later learn that Alpha was built on an alien world, just like Zordon had a physical body in his past existence battling Rita, and that Zordon is an alien too, so couldn't Alpha have come from Krypton? Alpha's silly and lovably goofy, despite his frequent outbursts of I. Charming, but please Alpha, restrain yourself now and again.
It's the big one. We'll all be destroyed.
Okay, forget I asked. Zordon knows Rita is back, and so it's time.
Teleport to us 5 overbearing and over-emotional humans.
It's great to show contempt for your 5 warriors in the fight against evil, but Zordon's heart's in the right place. Alpha, however, finds this choice decidedly dubious, but goes along with it. Let's talk about the command center, an amazing, iconic feat of production design.
This isn't exactly the mall, is it?
The viewing globe looks great, a giant glass orb that can play images in the curvature of its own space. It sits atop a glowing platform, and looks like it has wooden coffee tables fitted around it in various sizes, also with wooden bed legs, kind of. For the sake of design, but to support the ball as well. I love the spinning emergency lights made of transparent red and yellow plastic. The walls look like a sky full of stars, made with long lines of big bulbed Christmas lights. The lighting creates lots of reflected lights on the surfaces, especially on Alpha, and the control panels follow the circular design of the room. Flashing lights like giant snowflakes are on the control panels, and the tech is very futuristic, which of course means it looks rather dated now. But that's why it's so charming to me. We see what looks like SCART sockets, coloured buttons, toggle switches, very retro. I think the control panels are built of wood and plastic, etc. They're not metal, I can tell. The wall behind Zordon.
Like, what are you?
A giant floating head in a tube.
Ew!
It kind of looks like a sunset, lots of subdued purple, red and yellow. The towers are metallic bronze with flashing lights, like Saturn's rings. Very, very 90s. The effect of Zordon's head in the tube and the animation for it is stock footage of David Fielding slowed down and with blurring ghosting effects. Also a further wavy effect too, like water on a lake to make him seem otherworldly between this dimension and another, aiding in the in-story reason for why Zordon looks like this. Zordon has different facial expressions, but they're often fixed other than when he's laughing. The juice bar has these bronze metal bars and handrails, with some wavy decorative parts, recalling the bronze stuff in the command center, good recurring color coding, and in both cases I think it's inspired by Rita's palace. Our 5 20-something-year-old teenagers are teleported away.
That looks so 90s.
Yeah, it's like we were in a virtual reality flying simulator or something. Gen Z, look that one up.
I am Zordon, an interdimensional being caught in a time warp.
They explain that they must stop Rita.
And all her menacing monsters.
Using giant robots called Zords against her monsters. Jason will command the T-Rex. Zack, or Zachary as Zordon likes to refer to people by full name. Zack will command the Mastodon, or the Woolly Mammoth. I think this show taught me that name. Kimberly will command the Pterodactyl, Billy the Triceratops, and Trini the Saber-toothed Tiger. It's funny how Zordon calls them all dinosaurs. The T-Rex and the Triceratops are, but the Mastodon and the Saber-toothed Tiger are not.
They're mammals.
While the pterodactyl, closer to the dinosaurs, again is not one either.
It's specifically a winged prehistoric reptile, a pterosaur. completely different species.
Zordon kind of gives the teens their own personalities, like the way he sees them rather than what they are. At least not yet, though it's implied that Zordon can predict the future, at least in part. We'll come back to that.
Bold and powerful, clever and brave, graceful and smart, patient and wise, fearless and agile.
Admirable traits, but show don't tell. Television, filmmaking 101 after all. Anyway, most of the teens aren't sold on what Zordon is pitching to them, and leave. Billy is interested in the command center tech, but is pulled away by the crowd.
Peer pressure.
Jason is sold, saying they should do it, but Zordon, knowing they need to make the choice for themselves, lets them go. I think Saban looked at Rita's palace in the Sentai footage, and decided to have the Rangers HQ be similar. Rita's palace has electronic lights, like the topper let's call it, atop the tower, plus the orb with the glowing lights in rings inside, on the upper level. The palace and the command center are both in desolate settings, the moon and the desert on Earth. The Monster-Matic has a steam engine noise for when they're ready. Very Thomas the Tank kind of. Not the sound, just the idea. For the foot soldiers of the season, putty patrollers, to be made. Rita's monsters are often made from clay, though sometimes monsters appear to be recruited rather than created, which varies things up. The Rangers' morphers' buckles on their belts look like bum bags.
Huh?
You know, money belts.
Huh?
You know, fanny packs to my American brethren.
Oh, I get it now.
Ooh, how
nice.
90s.
Rita is privy to the Rangers' opposition. She blasts them from space and sends down a squad of putties to combat them. The American footage of the putties matches the Sentai, as they reuse the costumes, although in Ranger they always wore belts. In MMPR they wear belts sometimes, but not all the time.
Continuity error.
The putties nearly beat them, but the teens morph. Then we're in business. Overjoyed, Alpha and Zordon teleport them to Angel Grove to battle more putties and Goldar. I love all the Foley, ADR, and music in this show. It's cool how they were able to take this footage, blank most of the audio, and replace it to create their own iconic results. I enjoy Ranger a lot, but taking an already great show, reworking it and creating another great show is an achievement. Rita's
Magic one! Big Mike!
Insert name here.
Mine's out of the gutter. You know who you are.
I think they asked Toei to shoot more coverage of this so they could reuse it as placeholder footage. Due 1.5, if you will. It's a wonder Rita's staff doesn't burn up in the atmosphere as it's thrown from the moon to the Earth. Also, how does she get it back after every time that she does this? Is it like Thor's hammer or something?
Don't question it.
You're so right.
Anyway, having seen that their giant robot animals can merge into a giant robot person, that's what they do. This is a holdover from Voltron, which had giant robot lions that combine, though I find Ranger's robot more interesting as it includes all different species, not just one. Their assembly is iconic. Ooh, AOL.com era reference, very 90s. The dubbed-in voices help guide you through what's happening, especially if you're new to this sort of thing.
Back here, let's get cooking.
Saber-tooth tiger ready!
Triceratops, powered up!
I just love this part.
We all do, Kim. We all do. A favourite, though, is the monster-themed puns before the fight starts.
How they want a Megazord?
I love that line.
Let's jinx this Sphinx. Frankie, you're finished.
Footage of the Megazord formation is reused almost episodically, and this becomes more evident later on when toy commercial footage was variously used instead of the Sentai shots, likely as the Ranger footage was deteriorating. It did look visibly discoloured by the end, which is what happens when VHSs of the footage are copied and spliced in. Not something that's a problem now, but you know, it was the 90s, man. This sequence is especially where you notice the difference in footage qualities, from the Sentai to the US footage. Power Rangers was shot on video, while the Sentai was recorded on celluloid since the 70s, making it look like a movie despite the 4:3 aspect ratio. There's a pronounced film grain. It makes the footage look older than the 90s, but it's just the format being used. That's iconic, to the rhythm of the hands moving into place. The Megazord indeed has kind of an Optimus Prime face. The covered mouth especially, mixed with the devil horns. I mean, look at that dude. But anyway, no, the Megazord is not the devil. He doesn't even look like that. So, moving on. Power Sword! The Rangers fight Goldar and the result is a draw. Cue the iconic low-angle shot of the victorious Megazord to cap the fight scene. Perfect. I love the running gag of Rita being defeated and complaining of a headache. The Rangers celebrate their victory, Zordon outlining
3 basic rules
for them to follow.
Never use your power for personal gain. Never escalate a battle unless Rita forces you. And finally, keep your identity secret.
The first one is a constant in the superhero genre, especially when it comes to lessons of the day in kids shows. If you have the power, don't squander it. Be a good citizen, do the right thing, and be responsible. Because, folks,
with great power comes great responsibility.
Thank you, Uncle Ben. The second is good advice and makes for drama later on. And the third is pretty standard fare for the superhero genre, having a secret identity. All the major superheroes do this. Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, etc. The teens have brushes with people who wonder what certain things are, like their communicators invented by Billy.
New watch.
Or like when Jason evacuates the fun fair via megaphone. Why? What authority does he have? He's a Power Ranger. Jason nearly busts their identities with his word choice in front of Bulk and Skull. Plus kids whom they know and rescue could potentially find out who they are as well.
Wow, the Power Rangers!
Wow, the Power Rangers!
Great job, Kelly. We knew you could do it.
How does the Red Ranger know who Kelly is? Anyway, as a side note, they love to drink in their fame. Secretly.
The Power Rangers were able to defeat the Beast. Thank you, Power Rangers. Those amazing heroes, the Power Rangers.
But don't let it go to your heads, Rangers. That's vanity. Everyone is in after Zordon's speech. He is a good motivational speaker. Everyone other than Kimberly.
I don't know, you guys. I mean, the outfits are cool and everything, but my hair gets all tangled up inside the helmets. I don't think I can do it.
Turns out, she was just kidding.
Not!
Very 90s.
You think that's 90s? You should hear what she said to Cap the pilot.
Psych!
Everyone reaches their hands in. Ooh, Kim's got pretty pink nails. And throws their hands into the air. The freeze frame on the group shot is very 80s. Remember this end shot for a future episode. The end title credits the series producers. Thanks Chaim Saban and Shuki Levy. While the second episode is about the team, Trini has the most growth. We learn she's afraid of heights, and overcoming her fear is her arc. We learn that Rita trapped Zordon in his time warp, and she looks to trap the Rangers in a prison dimension, sending down Bones.
This zombie guy.
Bones always scared me as a kid, and he's creepy even today. Anyway, Bones controls the time warp with his head. Again, nightmare fuel. The Rangers fight foot soldiers in this new dimension that aren't putties, weirdly enough. They look like skeletons from the children's book Funny Bones. The Rangers use their handguns, or blade blasters, so named because their guns become swords. How useful. If Bones' head is destroyed, the Rangers can beat him and escape. Trini successfully tosses Bones' head into the abyss, but Rita's not through yet, sending a giant knight to bust open the dimension and beat the Rangers. Jason subdues him using his T-Rex. Usually it's the Megazord that defeats the monsters, which is awesome, but it's great to see Jason grow into his leadership role in moments like this. For his finishing move, the T-Rex roars into the earth, creating a tornado that turns the knight into dust. The other individual Zords have their own attacks too. The Mastodon's freezing mist. The Triceratops has cannons, also chains to wrap around enemies, and the saber-toothed tiger and pterodactyl use lasers. This doesn't always come up, but it's cool when it does. The Rangers' communicators, whose faces look like microphones, are iconic. They ring like phones, using the Power Rangers theme in beeps and boops, actually. Classic. While the communicators were built as just that, they
tapped into the command center's teleportation unit.
How useful. Now is a good time to bring up the slang in the show.
This is so 90s.
Ooh yeah.
Hey, nice stereo.
This grungy button over in the corner.
He seemed really bummed. Let's book. We need time to reboot.
Zach, at one point, had a
slamming CD
of contemporary music. Read that, ultra 90s.
Fat tune.
Also physical media, retro. I love this, you know me, I'm a physical media guy.
This is so neat.
That's bogus.
That's very Bill and Ted.
It looks totally far out and funky down the drain, dude.
The hell?
Even Alpha is hip to the language of the day.
Welcome, homeboys, homegirls. What brings you to the hood? Dude, do that.
Very 90s. In fact, it predates that. Is Alpha a hippie? Alpha runs around like in a silent comedy, complete with vaudeville-style piano soundtrack. Lots of sped-up silent comedy gags in this show. I love it. We're introduced to a major catchphrase of this franchise.
More phenomenal.
We'll hear this a lot in Power Rangers, and I love it so.
More phenomenal.
This is more phenomenal.
More phenomenal idea, Billy. More phenomenal. More phenomenal, Zach.
A lesson of the day that appears a few times is, save the environment, stop pollution. Noble, but oh so 90s. Kimberly and Trini have a petition to have the dump site shut down due to pollution, while Rita sends her Minotaur monster. Occasionally there's a gay panic moment with Bulk and Skull, as it looks like they both embrace like it's a bromance, which it kind of is, let's be honest. But yeah, guys don't hug other guys. They're so secure in themselves and their masculinity.
There is no way that I'm going to be the back end.
He likes to check his instruments before he performs. You promised I could do the scene with you.
Sat between the bullies at the juice bar, Kim moves out of Skull's way. His eyes are closed and he moves in for a kiss. Looks like he's going to kiss the camera, break the fourth wall, but accidentally kisses Bulk instead to his shock and outrage, resulting in another gay panic scene from the two, and Bulk threatens to beat Skull up over it.
Sick.
Homophobia. Lots of fourth wall breaks, which Amy Jo does, showcasing her gymnastic skills in the process, twice. Fourth wall breaks include... Also when the Rangers morph, too.
It's morphin' time. It's morphin' time. It's morphin' time. I'm morphin' out.
It's morphin' time.
It's morphin' time, guys.
It's morphin' time.
What a day. It's morphin' time.
Very 90s. Other 90s filming techniques included extreme wide-angle close-ups.
You'll be lucky if you remember what the assignment is.
I don't know, something's not right.
But what good are eggs if you can't eat them?
And flip photography. The Rangers are issued their power weapons by Zordon: the Power Axe,
lightning quick and hard as diamond,
the Power Bow,
accurate and strong,
Power Daggers,
feather light and true as arrows,
Power Lance,
a weapon of great power and range,
and the Power Sword,
key to all the weapon's power.
These can be used individually, but can also be combined to beat monsters. The Rangers' reused costumes look really good, though a few of their body types don't exactly match the Jew Ranger footage. Also, their neck pieces are often too padded or too thin. A pressing engagement opens up with Jason trying to beat his record of weightlifting, which he does by the end. 1,010 presses, woo. Yeah, he's a buff, beefy, jock, athlete, archetype type, like Slater from Saved by the Bell. Rita sends King Sphinx to bat them all away with his wings. Jason fighting until King Sphinx and Goldar grow and try and stomp him. The others produce magical crystals via lovably cheesy optical effects and send them to Jason's aid. I've just realised that head blaster attack, or the Cranio laser from the Megazord.
Cranio laser now!
It makes it look more like a Triceratops, not the devil, but still. Kim teaches an aerobics class, much like how Jason teaches karate and Zach hip-hop Kido. Kim's a good instructor, even knowing sign language. How inclusive. So Rita sends the Pied Piper down to lure teenagers away with his evil music. Seriously, that's basically what happens. The teens are alerted to the danger from Melissa, the hard-of-hearing girl from Kim's class, who follows them as they're led away to Bronson Cave. We often see Bronson Cave in Power Rangers when the show was still being shot in California. The teens are thankfully rescued and the monster beaten. The food fight episode is a personal favourite. It's all about getting cultural in the best way possible, celebrating the food of the world. Great. Rita gate crashes the event by sending a gluttonous pig monster, aptly named Pudgy Pig, no doubt influenced by Porky Pig from the Looney Tunes, to eat them all out of house and home.
I'm hungry.
Food fight.
Roll credits. While the mess is cleaned up, the Rangers' attention is called to Pudgy Pig, whom they battle. Haha, Pudgy loved eating all their weapons, farting all the way. They learn that Pudgy doesn't like spicy food, so they lure him with goodies, but also spicy stuff and radishes hidden in a baguette to make him vomit their weapons back up to defeat him. Very grotesque and effective, Power Rangers.
Don't touch the hot stuff.
In Big Sisters, Trini and Kimberly look after a
12-year-old girl named Maria.
Maria's a brat, think typical Beano character, but less funny. Look at those Kevin McAllister eyes. Mercifully, MMPR doesn't have as many Child of the Week plots as Jew Ranger, and I'm glad. In both cases, I don't want the kids to be in peril, I just don't usually care about them as characters. In Power Rangers, when they adapt this trope, it's usually better, but I'd rather just pay attention to the Rangers versus the villains. Rita finds a treasure chest containing magic eggs that can stop the Rangers, somehow, but she can't use them as only a child can open the chest. Maria is kidnapped and suspended in the air by a rope. Wow, this is bold. The American girl they cast to match the Sentai looks pretty consistent. Fortunately, Billy has a solution to their problem. Enter the Rad Bug.
It's an old car.
Hey! It's a Chitty Chitty Bang Bang Herbie the Love Bug type. The pun name no doubt stemming from Herbie. Although it's rad, as it's the 90s, everything has to be hip and rad. An improved Rad Bug Mark II appears in Once and Always. It looks and behaves more Chitty Chitty Bang Bang-like than the original. Pretty cool. It's lovably ridiculous and great that Billy just invented this flying car in his garage.
With a box of scraps!
Also that Billy can drive. This is what happens when you cast older to play younger and then forget the age that your characters are supposed to be. Anyway. According to legend, the power eggs were hidden away billions of years ago, which doesn't check out, by the Morphin Masters.
Not morphine, right? No, Morphin, you idiot.
Okay, cool. Rita has a giant chicken monster attack the Rangers. Really kooky and fun, and the eggs are lost at sea. Stock footage, kids. One of my favourite Billy-focused episodes is I Guy. The Child of the Week plot is actually good this time, involving a kid named Willie, who basically invents a virtual boy. Very 90s. Looks like it's made of a spinning swirly top and a baby's toy with flashing button lights. Very economic. So kids, if you reinvent the wheel, you win first prize. Willie's so clever. How can Rita exert her evil? By stealing his intelligence via her new minion, the nightmare fuel that is Guy. Just kidding, I love this guy. But as a kid, this design was creepy. Intentionally so mission accomplished. The teens and Willie are late for the science fair due to putties. To pad out the putty battles, footage would often be slowed down or an instant replay wrestling style editing choice would be used.
Instant replay?
Guy kidnaps Willie, leaving only his cap as evidence for the Rangers. Willie is trapped in hell, basically.
I don't understand. What is this place?
Looks like he's strapped in a ride at the fun fair, not the science fair. Very 90s with that spinning galaxy wheel. Or like the rings of Saturn again. Zordon gives the Rangers the goal of destroying Guy's main eye to beat him and free Willie. Free Willie. Which Billy does. Another favourite is For Whom the Bell Trolls. A Trini-focused episode that's very kooky and fun. It turns out it was all a dream, but it justifies some of the more nightmare-y, bizarre things that happen. In Hobby Week, we learn that Trini collects dolls. You may chuckle at how kiddie this is, but hear her out. Mr. Tickle Sneezer, Trini's favourite, looks like a big troll doll or a Furby. According to the book Trini reads from, the doll is magical and can capture things in his magic bottle. So Rita corrupts Tickle Sneezer and has him steal stuff. A rare example of how the villain of the week being bad is only because they're manipulated. What's the Tokyo Tower doing in California? I always thought this was the Eiffel Tower as a kid. Just goes to show France and Japan are like that, culturally, architecturally. In Happy Birthday Zack, Finster makes a monster as a present for Zack. Oh, how nice.
That will wipe him out.
How sadistic. The monster is the Nasty Knight. Okay, what am I watching now? Rita's minions forge a broadsword for the knight. With a 7 dwarves from Snow White work ethic.
Hi-ho, it's home from earth we go.
I I think they always use the same school corridor hallway set. If in Saved by the Bell their set looks like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, this is definitely Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Look how 90s it looks with the pastel colours. Zach thinks his friends forgot his birthday.
I should have just stayed in bed today.
Oh, Zach, man. Lo and behold, here comes a new buddy. Zach fights the knight, barely, until all 5 Rangers use their Blade Blaster attack.
They look like a bunch of cheerleaders.
And eventually trick the knight into destroying itself. Afterwards, Zach is led to the juice bar, and then, surprise! Yeah, move and a groove on your special day, Zach. It's your birthday. Our next Trini-focused episode is entangled with another Child of the Week plot. Trini babysitting her young cousin Sylvia. I love and fear this one. Why? Clowns. Need I say more? Our main villain is Pineapple the Clown. Seriously, that's his actual name. Sylvia wants to play with Pineapple, although Trini advises her, correctly, for them to stick together. The lesson of the day being not to wander off and to listen to your elders. And wouldn't you know it, Sylvia is turned into a cardboard cutout. Sylvia! That upset me as a kid. It's a very good cutout of Sylvia. The photo quality is amazing, and looks like it was laminated and put on MDF or something. Sylvia's frozen expression always creeped me out. Cue obligatory scary funfair shots of the rides, complete with freaky monster faces and Ron Wasserman's accompanying score. Wasserman is an amazing rock musician. He has the ear for it, for sure, but also different genres. Variously piano-driven stuff, chilled stuff, stuff with an Eastern flavor, military-style drumming, themes and music for Rita, baseball music, the blues, techno and hip-hop beats. Whatever you need to set the mood, the dude has it. Even music that sounds like it homages movie soundtracks too. And stuff that homages popular music like Elvis and the Beach Boys. Trini takes Sylvia away in her catatonic state. Turns out all she needed was water to get revived.
Trini, what'd you do that for?
Great comedy. After fighting some putties in Ronald McDonald costumes, Jason confronts Pineapple, who declares,
No more clowning around.
Nightmare fuel. He collapses, great skills on the actor's part, and he shows his true self.
Now to make cardboard out of the lot of you. Don't worry, it won't hurt a bit, but it might hurt a lot.
What a sadist. They gun him in their initial tank mode, then Megazord up and dust him. Billy is encouraged to go to the school dance that night with a girl by the rest of the group, just to tease him, also to grow his self-confidence. And wouldn't you know it, Billy bumps right into the girl of his dreams, Marge. Not this one. Think of her as Marge mixed with Lisa. The two make a date, but before the dance they agree to meet at the lake and discuss the weather.
That's very sweet.
Rita recruits Madame Woe. Great name. She can magically send people to different dimensions, and she's instructed to trap one of the Rangers before going for the others. Although Woe mistakes Marge for a Ranger and traps her, although it does eventually lead to the Rangers being trapped. They combine their power coins, making one of them strong enough to beat Madame Woe. Billy succeeds, crumbling Madame Woe's magic forehead jewel into moon sand, and they blast her into defeat. Some of the suit acting in the American footage, the mannerisms aren't quite there just yet. Billy is happy that Marge likes blue, and she was saved by the Blue Ranger, although he keeps his identity secret as he was this close to letting that secret slip. Billy even gets a kiss. Go Billy, you scored. Kimberly's Uncle Steve agrees to take her out flying in his plane, talk about rich whiteness, and Bulk and Skull tag along for the ride, to Kim's dismay. Jason and Zach, especially Zach, notice Angela, the girl Zach continually tries to ask out this season, and she continually brushes him off.
Angela, get real.
Zach, get alive.
Yo, Angela, you wanna dance?
Go back to your tune.
The most realistic thing I've seen in this show. At least the teens aren't successful at everything they do. But come on, Walter Jones is a good-looking dude. The fact that Angela just brushes him off with such callousness, it just makes her look like a bitch. Oh well, rejection equals character growth. Boys, if a woman says no, just accept her answer. That takes respect and maturity. Squat spikes Steve's drink with Kool-Aid, and eventually Steve does drink it all while in the air.
And he's out for the count.
Kim struggles to fly the crashing plane, but eventually lands the plane safely.
Yes! I did it!
This is all great, but head-scratching, as she pilots a pterodactyl that flies out of a volcano. Also, there are volcanoes near Angel Grove. Maybe her Zord came from the Yellowstone Park. But yeah, why doesn't she know how to fly the plane?
Kimberly, set to soar!
It does make for drama, though. Rita's monster, Satan, Snizzard, puts up a good fight. The apple on his head deflecting the Rangers' attacks, and eventually wrapping them in snake vines that drain their power. Snizzard is beaten with an arrow to the head from Kim's bow. Yay, go to hell, Snizzard! Anyway, we meet Trini's Uncle Howard, a scientist. Howard Kwan? Dr. Kwan's lab looks like a live-action TMNT Baxter Stockman set. Howard invents an invisibility formula, which he takes to the youth center to see his niece. Aw, Rita sends the Dark Warrior, who looks like an army dude mixed with a ninja, but hey, to steal Howard's formula, for some reason. The putties kidnap Uncle Howard, teleporting him to Bronson Cave filled with TNT, plus a bomb that's rigged to blow after an hour unless the warrior gets the formula. The Rangers beat the putties, find Uncle Howard, and, with difficulty, defuse the bomb.
Hey, is this bomb made out of a 90s stereo system? Talk about recycling and resourcefulness.
The Rangers beat the Dark Warrior, who we see has wrist cannons, chains, and a scythe. Wow, he is well prepared. Uncle Howard gets his formula back after Ernie came by it, probably thinking it was juice or unset jelly. Jello to my American audience. In switching places, the Rangers fight a genie made to obey Rita. Squat sneaks around at night. Who does he think he is, Santa Claus? He messes up Billy's mind-reading machine, Gremlin style. Also, Billy invented a mind-reading machine. Why isn't he at PhD level or the winner of multiple Nobel Prizes already? Anyway, Squat does this under the pretense that it will scramble Billy's brain, but it instead swaps Billy and Kim's brains when they test the machine.
Billy?
Kimberly? Talk about function.
Bulk and Skull also share the same fate when they mess around with Billy's device, though eventually this gets reversed and everyone gets back into their respective heads. Lesson of the day? Well, I think Trini summed it up best.
Not to mess with other people's property.
As much as they ruined each other's days, at least Billy and Kim didn't need to discover that they had to assume each other's lives Freaky Friday style.
You're serious? You really want us to be each other?
Yeah, Kim went from a Mary Sue to a Gary Stu, and Billy went from a Gary Stu to a Mary Sue. Yay! Kim looks like a soccer mom. Good job in making the actors only half unsuitable for their clothing. Amy Jo, I'll always love you, but that look lets you down. It's frumpy. Thank you. Despite these hiccups, it's time to fight Rita's evil space genie. Life gives me such great sentences to write and perform. He's defeated after Alpha blasts the genie's lamp away in the teleporter. Well folks, now we come to a story arc that I've been looking forward to, and also dreading talking about, simultaneously.
Time to meet the Green Ranger.
Green with Evil, a 5-part miniseries and an epic like no other, especially for kids shows at the time. This story introduces the most popular Power Ranger of all time, Tommy Oliver, played by the late great Jason David Frank. Credited here initially as Jason Frank. Also a shot of Tommy's Zord appears. It's just as awesome now as in 1993. If you look closely at the footage, you can see Tommy in miniature form atop its head. Very subtle. It's apparent that associate producer Tony Oliver cycled through Jew-Ranger footage to write the American storyline, but he hadn't run through all the Sentai footage yet. 15 episodes needed to be written before filming could begin. Then the rest would be processed, again in 15-episode run-throughs. The Green Ranger appears in Jew-Ranger episode 17, to Tony Oliver's surprise, and a casting call was quickly put out to fill this character's American vacancy, and that's how Jason David Frank came in. I would imagine as Tony Oliver discovered the Green Ranger, he came up with the character's name. Spell Tony slightly differently and you end up with Tommy. Nostalgically, Tommy means a lot to me, but also indeed Jason David Frank is no longer with us, sadly. Rest in peace, Jason David Frank. Fame of this scale, as much as he loved his fans and vice versa, he was still a human being. It can take a toll on one's mental health, as well as the fact that JDF had been suffering personal issues, and in November 2022, JDF tragically took his own life. He was 49 years old. The news saddened me, as I know it did and still does many others, very deeply. Unfortunately, JDF would not be the first Power Rangers actor to pass away like this, but given his popularity and how fast word travels in the social media age, his death had a huge impact and hurt a lot more therefore. As difficult a subject as this is, I value freedom of speech, transparency, and mutual respect regarding what you can share with other people. YouTube puts limits on certain words you can use to describe these things, lest the video have restrictions put on it. Jason David Frank committed suicide. Yes, I said that word. I don't care if YouTube age limits my video. I'm using my freedom of speech to make the conversation about these difficult issues. Underline difficult, I can't underplay that. Feel more open, honest, and real. I don't believe in censoring words or ideas so as to protect people. If you are struggling, or if you know someone who is, I feel you need the right words to express yourself and the issues be properly addressed therefore.
Fear of a name only increases fear of the thing itself.
Who would have known I would bring all of these issues up in a review about Power Rangers? I'll bring some of my own experiences into this, being completely sincere and again transparent with you folks. I've lost friends or friends of friends this way. Depending on one's age, but especially life experiences, this is very relatable. If the issues raised in this portion of the video affect you or someone you know, there are region-specific organizations to discuss one's mental health with professionals. I'm not a major voice on this subject, but I do like to give back whatever I can and help if I possibly can. Thank you for listening to me on this tangent. I felt I needed to get all of this off my chest, and I hope this might have helped anyone watching. Acknowledging Jason David Frank's tenure, his passing will be acknowledged in the seasons featuring him in my reviews, but I consider it a celebration of his 29-year legacy, including archival recordings of him in Power Rangers Once and Always, along with a heartfelt commemoration to him and Twee Trang at the end. And so with that, let us continue. Green with Evil Parts 1 to 5 on various home media re-releases all have subtitles, which I'm ignoring, partly as those subtitles aren't on the actual episode cards, but also, say if you haven't watched these episodes before, it spoils them. Besides, that's how I remember these episodes nostalgically. At the Angel Grove Martial Arts Expo, Jason is set to compete against new challenger Tommy Oliver, practicing his moves with his iconic hi-ying. JDF was such a great mixed martial artist, bringing such skills into the show. It's love at first sight for Kimberly.
He is really cute.
Rita spies Tommy from her telescope, seeing his potential as her new evil Green Ranger. This arc is full of proleptic irony, because we always know what the villains are doing, but the Rangers don't, and that's where the drama and suspense comes in.
The suspense is breaking my circuit boards.
Behind the scenes, Austin St. John saw himself as this alpha male type of the team. Being that young, you're douchier, and so having JDF...
He came and just mixed everything on up.
JDF was also an alpha by nature. They worked together well enough despite this, but I don't think they ever became friends beyond Power Rangers. ASJ even saying upon JDF's passing that they weren't exactly beer-drinking buddies, but that their differences were long settled and that he would sorely miss JDF. Jason and Tommy's fight results in a draw, which they're both good sports about, even if it's tough when there is no winner. Tommy's suave, mysterious, but charming and respectful too, from the way he fends off Bulk and Skull when they harass Kimberly.
Hey, didn't you hear the lady? She said no.
Kim is like, yeah, a new man of my dreams is at my rescue. Fun fact, I grew my hair out to be like JDF. I love that style. Very iconic in 90s. Check out his earring he often had, and his necklace too. Lots of necklaces worn in this show, come to think of it. Sometimes it would be a blue yin and yang symbol, other times a silver fish, interestingly.
Such a metrosexual.
A fish, eh? Is Tommy a Christian? Like his counterparts, Tommy wore his Ranger colours in different shades of green in more 80s styles than 90s, honestly. Like stripy hoodies, stripy shirt too, military boots sometimes, camouflage, big green 90s jeans and a knitted mesh vest, with a black cotton vest underneath, a flannel tartan shirt. He even looked like a skater boy with his backwards baseball hat.
Bro!
Even a shirt that's very 60s, again with a camouflage colour scheme. theme. Also double denim, all dyed green, I love that one. JDF's range is apparent. He can play evil with such an iconic evil laugh, which chilled me as a child.
I'm Kimberly.
I'm Tommy.
Hi.
Hi.
Aww, the start of their junior high school romance. Aww. Power Rangers is aimed at young kids, but about teenagers, so bearing in mind their audience, they push it as far as they can. Kim asks Tommy out, progressive, but just to hang out with her and her friends. But Rita intervenes, calling on the power of the 6th power coin. We've seen Zordon possesses these coins, but why does Rita have an evil one? Turns out, Zordon and Alpha, as we'll later learn, did not make the power coins, they found them. So, it's possible that it was a free-for-all. Zordon got most of them, but Rita found one. She casts a spell for Tommy to become her evil Green Ranger, but not before testing him with a squad of putties to see if he's the one. Boy, that skull used to scare me as a kid. Same with Rita's spell casting. Tommy easily holds them off, even using a dustbin lid, Captain America style. Rita teleports Tommy away. When we see Rita on the rooftop, she actually looks pretty good. The costume is the same, but it's a different actress with a more petite build. Also, she's backlit, wisely putting her face in shadow, but Barbara Goodson's voiceover makes it work. Her staff is different too, bulkier, simpler and wooden, but it matches the Sentai well enough for the American shots. Good overlay of the Sentai footage into the American footage, with the green eyes glowing to indicate that he's awake and evil. Tommy is sent to wreck the command center and disable Zordon, so he loses contact with our dimension, along with corrupting Alpha's computer banks, via a virus on a CD. How very 90s. Conveniently, he has a CD slot to receive such a virus. 1 point against physical media, though I still hold it to be better than streaming. Sometimes. Also, Alpha recharges himself with a plasma ball. How retro. It's crazy watching Tommy rip the panels out, all the sparks. I wonder if they used magician's fire inside one of the panels. Great attention to detail with all the bound up wires and circuit boards. You can believe it's a functional place. Tommy teleports away, leaving the Rangers high and dry. Lots of Dutch angles in this miniseries, like when Zordon is compromised. Very discombobulating. Zordon in a state of power loss always upset me. Like Tommy, no, bring Zordon back. It was also shocking to me as a child learning that Rita knows the Rangers' identities, so it's like, okay, we're in trouble now. It's jarring seeing the Green Ranger suit in American footage, as it's a different, more minty shade of green, but the main problem is the shoulder padding and armbands. In Jew Ranger he wears a rubber shield and bands, but in MMPR it's shiny and quilted like a duvet. Quaint, but they don't match. It's like they cheaped out. Maybe Tommy's costume was damaged in transit or something. His boots and gloves look different too, with the number of the green triangles on them being different. Still, the teleportation effect for Tommy while he's evil is cool. The Rangers arrive. The way the Radbug flies in is charming and goofy. The green screen effect before we cut to the actual car in the space. Alpha is brought back to his senses, and the Rangers discover Zordon is gone, and that the damage has inhibited their teleportation and communication. And if that wasn't enough, Goldar is on the rampage. The Rangers beat the Putty Patrol and fight Goldar, which goes well, until Goldar abruptly vanishes and Tommy invades their Megazord cockpit. Megazord's head sparking as they all fell from it screaming, while Tommy landed in victory. Always shocked me as a child. Another early memory, never seen anything like this before. The Rangers fight in not rural Japan. Kind of looks like South America out here. It's a new ball game now. It's not just about fighting silly monsters anymore. This is another Ranger like them, but evil. Tommy has a blade blaster like the others, though that changes when he receives his own weapons, the Dragon Dagger, and the Sword of Darkness too. Also his own Zord, very Godzilla-like as it rises from the ocean. When I learnt that Power Rangers was originally partly sourced from Japan, it didn't shock me. The martial arts, and specifically Tommy's Dragon Zord, are both very Japanese hallmarks. I think the energy ball that Tommy hurls at them was the inspiration for Tommy putting a CD in Alpha to corrupt his circuits, as it kind of looks like a compact disc. The spell Rita cast to make Tommy evil is temporary, and the Sword of Darkness will keep it going forever, providing the sword isn't destroyed. He looks up at his new empress, Rita. Like Zordon, Rita instructs Tommy to keep his identity secret, which he technically doesn't follow come part 5, but he also acted noticeably like a jerk, especially to Kimberly.
Newsflash, Kimberly. You are not the center of everyone's universe.
The hell she isn't.
Well, excuse me for living.
I'm surprised Kim didn't run off and cry after that. She has every right to. Screw you, evil Tommy. Tommy later teleports Jason to a redressed version of the command center. The Dark Dimension, not this one.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
Look at this place, all the green pillars and the smoke. To hide the bin liners all over the floor, in fact, but it adds atmosphere. It's creepy with the weird monster faces lit from underneath, mounted on green circles with copper bronze pillars like prison bars, which burn Jason when he touches one of them. Ouch, that always bothered me when I was young. This arc depicts this place as scary, though the more we see this place, the less scary it becomes. Saying that, this place is awesome looking. The pillars looks like they're made of wood with green paint and gold leaf. They look wonderful in wide shots, but in close-up you see they're a little haphazardly put together in places. Goldar has Jason trapped to battle him with no Morpher, which he has stolen. Talk about a nightmare scenario. The Green Ranger returns and the remaining Rangers morph and fight, though Tommy wipes the floor with them. It really felt off as a kid watching this fight as Jason isn't there. You want him to be there. They're short-handed as they fight Tommy. Megazord is formed with Zack taking the lead. Yeah, somehow it works without Jason. Still, Tommy blasts the Megazord, but it's deflected back with its shield made from the Mastodon head. Very cool. With his pride hurt, Tommy teleports away, while Goldar ups the ante, drawing his sword, though Jason keeps narrowly evading him. Jason hides in the smoke, and Goldar starts stabbing the floor in rage. Oh man. Rita summons an old friend. Via a lightning storm and a forest of trees and magic mushrooms, Scorpina. Scorpina poses a threat to the Rangers that's equal to Goldar, and she can disguise herself as a boulder. The shots of the scorpions as the rock breathes always weirded me out. When the young boy, is watching this show, you're supposed to feel grossed out when she becomes a giant scorpion monster. But then, when you see her human form, you're just like, oh, well, hello. And she is very pretty. It's a compliment. Scorpina's monster form has predator dreads, a pincer for a hand, and facial mandibles too.
I liked you better before.
Yeah, she went from hot to not. I love the asymmetry in her human form with metal parts and scorpion headpiece similar to Goldar, and the red and yellow is very sexy. Ow! Cannot help it if it's true though. Unlike the other villains, the dubbing for Scorpina is great, syncs up well with the Sentai shots, especially in monster form. Jason leaps up, yells, and mid-air kicks Goldar hard, knocking him back. Go Jason! The Green Ranger arrives, prompting Goldar to leave, and Jason and Tommy fight. Tommy tries to get him with his sword, but Jason is teleported out. Billy and company having fixed the teleportation features and locating Jason. Goldar grills Tommy for failing, though he is granted another chance to prove himself by Rita, who practices a spell to eclipse the sun, to cut off Megazord's solar power source. Said power source was never established, but I can buy it. The Zords all remain dormant in the dark and come to life in the light, so no sunlight weakening them. Well, that's permissible, as James Cameron might say. Tommy is sent to sabotage the command center again when the Rangers are absent, again disabling Alpha. Wait, Alpha's off switch is a fuse on his bum that you pull out? That's really awkward. Alpha is reactivated via his own backup power, however, and Green Ranger is trapped in a force field. Alpha gets the computer to identify the Green Ranger's true identity. Goldar rumbles and crumbles the city, while Bulk and Skull get on a bus to drive away from Goldar, though somehow end up right where he is. Feels like there's some teleportation going on here with the Sentai footage. The bus perfectly matches the one in the Sentai, though. Goldar picks up the bus, Jason yelling for him not to attack innocent civilians. Goldar will release them if the Rangers surrender, but of course they don't. And Rita orders for the bus to be taken to a cliff edge near the beach and pushed off. Wow, dark, but we only hint at that darkness. Can't have real death in Power Rangers. The Megazord catches the bus just in time, however, and it's put back to safety. Thank goodness. Tommy is released from the force field and is grown into giant size. Giant Rangers, well, that isn't something we often see in Power Rangers, so this is an epic moment to relish. The Megazord brawls with the three villains, all while the solar eclipse weakens it to the point of collapse, and they eventually have to bail out. The Rangers fall and demorph as the ground opens up and swallows their Zords in a pit of fire. Wow. Back at the command center, the computer reveals Tommy to be the Green Ranger, to the others' shock and dismay. The teens, especially Kim, feel compelled to save him from Rita's spell, Alpha accurately deducing that that's what's controlling him. After 10,000 years of being dormant, the Dragon Zord is reawoken by Rita, and it destroys everything in its path to the city.
Minty.
Dragon Zord has finger missiles. I love this show. Also all the sounds for when it arms and fires. Perfect. Iconic too. The Rangers confront Tommy, who attacks them, controlling Dragon Zord with his Dragon Dagger. It's a dagger that doubles as a flute, which of course makes it epic. I know Tommy's helmet has a mouth, but how can he play the flute through it? He presses the keys, maybe that's all that needs to be done and it's just for the gesture. It's still awesome, one way or another. Zordon is summoned back, his presence reactivating the Zords. They learn that if Tommy's sword is destroyed, the evil spell will be broken. The T-Rex and the Dragon Zord brawl, then it's Megazord versus Dragon Zord. The Red and Green Rangers battle. Jason blasts Tommy, flooring him. Jason destroys Tommy's sword via a bad superimposed blaster effect. But yes, the spell over Tommy is broken. Break the spell! They recruit Tommy to their side. Despite his remorse and hesitation, he joins the Rangers.
6 working together to fight evil!
Zordon and Alpha celebrate the 6th Ranger joining them, and they morph. Amazing roll call scene. Also an iconic morphing call of Dragon Sword from Tommy.
Finally, the prophecy has been fulfilled. The 6th Ranger is now one of us.
You see, he can predict the future. Dragon Zord can combine with the Mastodon, Triceratops, and Saber-toothed Tiger, creating the Mega Dragon Zord. My jaw dropped as a kid seeing this combination, and it's still epic today. The way the Dragon Zord's body comes apart and the arms retract, forming its breastplate, mirroring Tommy's shield, and the Zords combine. Also, its tail becomes a new weapon, the Power Staff.
Alright! Aw man, it's awesome!
Rita is furious that they lost. This was her shot at victory, though Goldar promises they will have their revenge, and he will personally see to it. Remember this for a future episode.
Power Rangers!
Cue freeze frame, and so it all comes full circle. Next we have The Trouble with Shell Shock, one of my favourites. I actually saw this first on VHS, but the funny thing is, I saw Green with Evil parts 1 to 3, not knowing how it ended, which was upsetting and frustrating as a child, believe you me. Green with Evil parts 1 to 3 were on one tape, and parts 4 and 5 were on another. Anyway, I saw this episode before I saw the end of Green with Evil, so I thought, oh, Tommy must be turned good by the end then. So I unwittingly spoiled it for myself, sadly. This is basically a Squat and Babu focused story, weirdly enough. They sneak around the palace while Rita is asleep and create a new monster, Gamera. Or rather, his name is Shell Shock. Great name, shorthand for PTSD. When Rita learns of what they did, she's very impressed, to Goldar's irritation. Squat and Babu send in Shell Shock, but not before Tommy leaves to practice karate. Boy, Tommy is the lone Green Ranger, isn't he? His character is kind of a standalone guy, which is why girls loved him and boys wanted to be him. We'll see this a lot as, no spoilers, but the Green Jew Ranger would be separated from the group after his initial story arc, coming in to help but only at the last minute until he was written out of the show. Saban was therefore saddled with Sentai footage that didn't feature the Green Ranger so prominently, so they needed excuses, reasons for Tommy to be partly absent for each episode. When Tommy is on screen, however, we can rest assured that he too is a teen with attitude.
See you later, go guy. Let's show this turkey some real teamwork. I'm a Power Ranger till the end.
Hell yeah. Shell Shock blasts Trini with his Go Beam and she can't stop moving and runs off. Other than Jason, Shell Shock freezes the others in place with his stoplight. Zordon reassures Jason that there is a cure for the others.
The rare flower.
And Trini can be used to find it. Meanwhile,
wait till those teenage mutants see what a full-grown turtle can do.
Hahaha, TMNT joke. Very self-aware and apt. Shell Shock freezes the Zords with his stoplight. Trini arrives with the flowers and leaps atop Shell Shock's head, sprinkling dust frost from the flowers that subdues him. The Rangers are all unfrozen, and the T-Rex blasts Shell Shock with his tornado, dusting him. Itsy Bitsy Spider is a pivotal episode as we learn that Zack is afraid of bugs, especially spiders, which he kind of overcomes at the end. Yeah, this phobia keeps coming back later on.
These are the traits that shine in Zack.
So there is episode-to-episode consistency, but it kind of undoes the goodwill of this one.
Yuck, bugs. Oh, yuck, how can you stand to me near this thing, Not more bugs. We show Rita we're not afraid of her big bug.
I'm pretty sure Joss Whedon watched this show, as when Walter Jones appeared in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, his character isn't scared of spiders.
I come bearing spiders.
Like, screw you, Reset Television. There's a magic statue in Angel Grove Park that protects from bad bugs, which Rita replaces with a malevolent one that can also turn into a giant spider.
A spider bug.
Great way to exploit Zack's arachnophobia, Rita. The spider costume creeped me out as a child, and it still kind of gives me the ick now. The spider blasts the Megazord with paralyzing foam.
I can't move the feet!
He then webs Megazord up in a big web. Did I mention Toei made a live-action Spider-Man show?
Change the apart!
Anyway, the spider blasts them with electricity, forcing them back into individual Zords, which attack again. Zack freezes the spider, but he shakes away free. Damn it. Mega Dragon Zord is formed. It's cool just seeing Billy, Trini, and Zack in the cockpit, though it confused me when I didn't see Tommy with them, as he often operated the Dragon Zord externally. But why is he not there with them when it's in Megazord form?
Sentai footage.
Mega Dragon Zord drills right into the spider, and it collapses and explodes. Way to go. So kids, if you need to get rid of a spider, I guess you do it this way, which I do not recommend. So thank you but no thank you, Japan. In Life's a Masquerade, a Frankenstein's monster, another favourite, is sent to crash the teens' costume party and destroy them, though sheer hilarity ensues. Finster, Squat and Babu, and an army of regular putties mine a new type of clay to make super putties, sourced from a mine on Earth. Huh. Looks like they borrowed machinery from Willy Wonka to accomplish this feat.
I've got a perfect puzzle for you.
Zordon exposits that Rita is planning on using a squad of enhanced, virtually indestructible super putties to invade. The Rangers brawl with Frankenstein.
Hey, meet my wife, the old ball and chain.
Mega Dragon Zord launches a blast attack from the plume on his head, similar to Megazord's Cranio Laser, though this gets deflected back. Ouch. Finally, Frankenstein gets stabbed, brutal, and he seizes up, cracks up, and explodes. Yay! Tommy and Jason need to work together, or gung-ho as Trini says. Rita sends her super putties, complete with big gloves and boulder hands, to wipe the floor with the Rangers, all except Jason and Tommy, who go on a quest to find new weapons to destroy the putties. Tommy sees their target, but then a giant Brachiosaurus Zord attacks them. This is Titanus, who comes to their aid in the future as he is on their side, but acts this way at first to test them on their quest. Jason and Tommy swap weapons. Boy, it's weird seeing Tommy without his shield. It looks cool on any Ranger, but he looks incomplete without it. Jason opens the treasure chest with their new slingshot blaster weapons, which also say Jew Ranger on the side if you look closely. They bring these to the others and the super putties are destroyed. Yay! The slingshots never reappear in the season, but at least the boys bonded as a duo. Time for the high school play, even though the subject matter, Rumpelstiltskin, would be better suited to elementary schoolers, if that. Kimberly plays the fair maid meant to spin straw into gold, and Bulk is the title character. He really modernized his dialogue in this, hilariously so.
What's the matter, sweet cheeks? Why are you crying?
Wow, bummer.
Don't sweat it, babe. I'll do it for you. Give us a smooch, fair babe. Get ready to pucker up, fair dame.
Ugh. Nice bit of straw and painted backdrop for the fairy tale play. Very quaint. The bush part of the set for the play, it looks like David Hockney painted it. Very good. This is a chance for Amy Jo to practice her Stanislavskian acting techniques.
Oh, woe's me. Where's Rumpelstiltskin? Rumpelstiltskin, did you hear me?
She's a pro.
Take a chill pill, will ya?
Rita steals their spinning wheel, creating the Wheel of Misfortune. This time, the Ultra Zord will need to be formed, whereby Dragon Zord merges with Megazord in a helmet and armored shoulder pad form, and Megazord is transported using Titanus as a carrier Zord. Ultrazord is armed with big cannons, which are used on any major threat from here, so it's hilarious that its first appearance is all for a simple magical spinning wheel. Amazing. In the two-part clip show Island of Illusion, Rita is sick of the Rangers, eventually sending them to the titular island in another dimension via her creepy magic skull, which she also uses to summon Lokar to destroy the Earth. Rita casts her nonsense spell, summoning a giant, hideous zombie-looking thing, and then Lokar appears. He's a Japanese guy in ghost head form. Lokar breathes his horrible, smoky breath onto her new monster, giving it a more demonic form, even giving him a breastplate that looks like his own head, complete with laser eyes. The monster vomits white toxic foam on the Zords, gross, immobilizing them and sending the Rangers to the island. They escape with a little self-confidence. Corny, but what you gonna do? It's Power Rangers. They're helped by a little person, I mean that with all the political correctness I can muster, named Quagmire, definitely not this guy, who is kind of like Willow. The island confuses the Rangers with illusions to make them lose hope and start fading away.
Erased from existence.
By the end, Rita herself seems to grow and destroys the island, but not before the Rangers teleport. The Rangers reappear and half-form Ultrazord, attacking Lokar and his monster with their Z attack, destroying the monster. Then Ultrazord tries to beat Lokar, but he retreats. The Rangers promising to get him next time. Finster makes a monster for Rita's birthday, Fang. Tommy is ambushed by putties, holding them off until he's trapped in a net, Return of the Jedi style.
Han, can you reach my lightsaber?
This is the best Tommy is incapacitated plot in the show so far. The henchmen find dino eggs, the same ones from a previous episode, but the continuity doesn't matter here, whereas in Jew Ranger it does. But here they aren't dino eggs, but bird eggs. Squat and Babu eat the eggs to Goldar's annoyance. It looks like they're full of nasal fluid.
Tasty!
Oh, I think I'm gonna throw up. The henchmen trick Fang into thinking that the Rangers have more of the eggs that he wants, and they fight. Fang grows, and then it's Megazord time. Dragonzord battle mode is soon engaged, and the T-Rex fights alongside him, then Ultrazord wins the day. In the two-parter, The Green Candle, spoilers, Tommy loses his powers. Despite the best efforts of his friends, Rita has a candle made of magic wax that represents his powers. How very voodoo. And when fully melted via awkward superimposed optical effects, his powers will be lost. It's interesting that Rita didn't pull this trick earlier to get rid of Tommy, but what you gonna do? Informed by the Sentai, but it makes for good drama. Tommy wants to ask Kim to the school dance, although they're ambushed by Goldar and the putties kidnap him, trapping him in the dark dimension. Finster creates one of his best monsters, though not in terms of design, a shape-shifting Cyclops that imitates Dragonzord, Mega Dragonzord, even the T-Rex and Megazord too. Tommy steals Goldar's sword, and by stabbing the ground, weird method, they teleport back to Earth. Going it alone, Tommy summons the real Dragonzord, despite his weakening powers. Tommy jumps aboard Dragonzord, always a great sight as this rarely happens in the show. The cockpit looks the same as the others, just with indicators that it's Tommy's. Green lights, controls, and his dragon emblem. Ultrazord destroys Cyclops just as the flame burns out. Tommy's powers will soon be stolen unless he gives them away. Jason takes them, wielding Tommy's shield and dragon dagger, and now he controls the Dragonzord. Tommy keels over as his powers fade and he demorphs. Rita is angry in defeat, even if Tommy is beaten. For now. Later, Tommy successfully asks Kim to the dance, but not before they kiss. Aww, the taste of tuna fish sandwich. I'm not kidding, one of them ate that before this scene, just as a prank. Still, it's a sweet moment, one of the greats.
I've been wanting to do that for a long time.
Me too.
In Birds of a Feather, Finster sends the Hatchosaurus, a bird monster, despite the dinosaur connotations. It contains an internal computer called Cardiatron, which sounds like a G1 transformer. I do love that this computer has nothing technological about it, but they acknowledge what it is in adaptation by having cardio in the name, as it's a heart that keeps the monster alive. Dragonzord drills into the monster, freeing Jason and Cardiatron, who blasts him.
Talk about a heart attack.
Jason activates his sword and dagger, going for the finishing move.
Go, Jace!
Ultrazord destroys Hatchosaurus. It's awesome seeing Jason with his armor in the cockpit as he leads them to victory. We We start the next episode with show and tell. Trini has a VHS tape in a plastic sleeve. Aw, the memories. The 90s continued technologically into the 2000s when I was a kid, so the sight of this CRT TV on wheels in the classroom, this is a treasured memory I have of being in school.
My video project is called Pollution Problems in Angel Grove.
Save the rainforest.
Trini's solution to the problem is to start a cleanup club.
Virtue signaling.
To deal with recycling, rubbish and pollution, so Rita sends the Polluticorn. A pollutant unicorn beast. How useful. It kind of looks like the Pegasus from the Columbia TriStar logo, just evil and ugly. At least he's easily defeated by Jason's sword and dagger, and later the power sword. The recycling drive, weird name, and the cleanup club go about their business.
Check out this pile of papers. Man, we just saved a redwood.
Oh, how very Californian.
At the juice bar, we see a mix of a supermarket display and art, in an infinite number of inverted commas, comprised of cans and plastic bottles. In the most elaborate comedy set piece ever, Bulk wheels in a rubber tire which hits Skull, who hits all the collected recycling.
I think, whenever possible, everything should be recycled.
To the extreme! Busted!
In a bad reflection on you, Rita wants to ruin the Rangers' reputation, with putties disguised as them via powers from the Twin Man.
The Twin Man? Like from the Wizard of Oz?
Then, when the real Rangers arrive to stop them, destroy them. The bad teens all look like Terminators with their sunglasses, complete with red eyes.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Which they even make fun of in a minute.
Pasta la pizza, baby.
The teens all walk in to cause trouble. They go about their destructive business in, honestly, the most creative prank I've ever seen in my life, breaking open a water drinking fountain, filling it up with dishwasher soap, and putting it back together so that the hapless victim, who ends up being Principal Kaplan, can be excessively covered in soapy water.
Impressive!
Skull hits on evil Kimberly, and to his shock, she accepts a date with him.
Sure, sweet lips. Give me a call.
This evil Kim still does it for me, though. What? Mr. Kaplan, who now looks like Walter Peck at the end of Ghostbusters, puts the real teens, framed by their clones, into detention with none other than Bulk and Skull. It is sad that Bulk and Skull just accomplish nothing with their lives, and are happy to be locked up in this totalitarian system known as Angel Grove High School.
I wonder what Mom made me for detention today.
Aw, Bulk, your mother must be so proud of you. Not. Anyway, Rita's evil clones march upon Angel Grove and cause mayhem, blasting innocent people with their guns. Back in detention, Bulk whips out a TV from his detention survival kit bag. He laughs hysterically at a cartoon which looks like a Tom and Jerry knockoff, but also some kind of anime knockoff. Someone tell me if this is a real show. It's interrupted by a news report of the Power Rangers terrorizing the city. The teens go and stop them, slipping past Bulk and Skull, which honestly isn't that difficult now, is it? The clones are demorphed, Jason's being the Twin Man whom the Blade Blaster attack disarms. After combining their weapons, that's him finished, splitting into shards like a mirror. Nice touch. In Doomsday, what would have been the two-part finale to the show, we learn that today is Power Rangers Day. In the park, there will be a gathering to celebrate the Rangers, and it is hoped that they appear to complete the event. Bulk, being rock stupid, thinks he and Skull can steal the Rangers' thunder by dressing up as superheroes and gate-crashing the event. Rita, using all her magic from her evil skull,
By the power of Grayskull!
calls on all the power she can to activate Goldar's Zord, Cyclopsis.
Oh, that's a very good bad name.
All her henchmen look terrified, rightly so, and Goldar promises to succeed. You see, payoff from earlier in the season. Bulk and Skull change, Superman style, into Bulkster and Super Skull. Like Super Skrull, right? They look like the 60s Batman and Robin, other than the colours, which look cheap and nasty. So yes, this is how the true heroes of the show get around. So go and show up the Power Rangers, boys.
Testing! Testing! Hello! good citizens of Angel Grove.
Bulk's costume and hammy acting is like the mutant from Goosebumps, which I'm pretty sure is an Adam West-inspired design by Ron Stefanik. I love Goosebumps, another Fox Kids broadcast show. Rita traps the crowd in another dimension, while Alpha detects that Rita's palace is coming to Earth, which will make her stronger. After 10,000 years, Rita summons Cyclopsis, Goldar's Warzord from hell, I guess, as he comes up from the Earth's core. Looks like a Gundam, but also like a powerful Digimon character, but also like the Dark Magician from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh, how very Japanese indeed.
Hey wait, that monster's not a Cyclops, it's got 3 eyes. Cyclopsis subdues the Zords until Titanus arrives. Ultrazord is formed, firing all weapons, and Goldar aborts as it collapses and its head falls to the ground.
Gross.
Rita blasts Titanus into a sinkhole. The Megazord tries to pull it out by the neck. You'd think that would just kill Titanus, but it shows desperation. Rita channels her magic through a giant pole with a ram's head on top.
What the hell is that for?
You're asking the wrong guy.
Turns out it's a means to bring Lokar back. Also Cyclopsis too. Cyclopsis draws swords from his wrists and slices Megazord's arm off, and part of Dragonzord's tail too. Man, this is intense. The Rangers keep fighting, one-handed, though they have no shielding power left, as they're on less than backup power. Lokar and Rita blast the Zords and they lie weakened. It looks like the Megazord is corroding away with the rotoscoped effects on the surfaces. Turns out it's a new security protocol by Zordon, and it will soon repair, though it just looks like the Megazord is straight up destroyed. The Rangers abandon ship and teleport back to the park in a blaze of fire, but they're okay, and before long the Zords reappear, including Titanus. Alpha realizes that because Rita's palace is on Earth, their computer has been able to penetrate, don't giggle at that, Rita's databanks. Who knew she had databanks on this old steampunky fantasy palace? Using different Zord combinations, the Rangers weaken Cyclopsis, who isn't quick enough to beat them, and Ultrazord destroys him. We don't see it, but I guess Lokar is beaten too. And Rita's palace heads back to the moon. So long, sore losers. Angel Grove citizens are brought back, and Rita's spell is broken. Bulk and Skull are shooed off stage, and the Power Rangers get their due credit. Some kids debate who's the best Ranger, but wouldn't you know it, the best Ranger of all time, Tommy Oliver, appears.
I'll let you guys in on a little secret. They're all totally awesome.
The Rangers all high-five Tommy, as well as many others in the crowd. Aww. And they stand on stage with a banner behind them, also featuring them. Zordon gives them a choice, to stay as Rangers or return to their regular lives, and they all agree to stay. So with the success of MMPR, what was conceived as a 40-episode season based on Jew Ranger was expanded by another 20 episodes, totaling 60 episodes. This is rather too much for your season in hindsight, but they were able to do another season after this, plus more. But how was this accomplished? As most usable Jew Ranger footage had already been used up by then, Saban accomplished this after contacting Toei to produce new footage of the Rangers fighting monsters and various Zord battles too. Footage dubbed by fans as Jew 2, interspersed with, I guess, Jew 1 footage of Rita and her minions plotting against the Rangers. Raw Jew 2 footage is viewable on stunt coordinator Jeff Pruitt's YouTube channel, and it's mute, so I guess Jew 2 was mimed out by Toei, making it easier to dub. Saban asked Toei, among other things, to work in story points from the American show like Kim and Tommy's romance. Billy's tech wizardry was also written in, and I'm sure it was requested to feminize Trini's stunt actor as her Sentai counterpart was actually male, but I guess Saban either didn't know or didn't care about this the first time around. So let's talk about the remaining 20 episodes. Some episodes use or reuse Jew Ranger footage, but the rest is Jew 2 mixed with American stuff. I do try and imagine though what it's like for people, other than James Rolfe, to watch MMPR for the first time and just being burned out by the number of Season 1 episodes. As fun as some of the monster designs are, while these episodes do have a story arc, as it pertains to Tommy's powers being returned to him via a temporary power extension from Zordon, and the six work together again, these episodes do follow a very formulaic rinse and repeat style, so fatigue sets in after a while, but there are entertaining moments.
Norman?
Norman's on sabbatical, honey.
As far as issues of the day and character growth for the Rangers were concerned, saving the environment, specifically the rainforest, cropped up.
We're doing something to make the world a better place.
Trini is taught about the fair fight, to always face your opponent or opponents in equal numbers. Also, she's given an actual mantis to take care of by her master. How goofy. Inspired, Bulk and Skull invent a new martial arts style, cockroach kung fu.
Cockroach power!
Rita uses a mole monster to kidnap the teen's parents via toxic BO.
Disgusting.
We see the parents in the dark dimension. And Goldar ransoms them for the Rangers' power coins, which are totally not the toy versions of the coins, by the way. Goldar doesn't hold up his end of the bargain, laughing at the Rangers for fools, and keeping all that he has taken in an ornate wooden box with green lining.
Scum.
Nice jewellery box, though. Makes me think of the Green Ranger. Speaking of, Tommy appears to save the day. We learn that Kim was a great cheerleader in junior high, very Val gal, and she still is. Yay, no character growth there. But the lesson of the day was self-belief and don't compare yourself to others. That's how Kelly, the early teen of the week, ended up being on her cheerleading team. Tommy is mentored by, of all people, Ernie, to become the school's quarterback. Despite his lacking confidence, I guess. He succeeds. Well, now that I could see coming. Tommy needs to overcome his forgetfulness, time management, and confidence, which normally isn't an issue, but whatever. Zach wants to buy Angela a pair of pearl earrings for her birthday.
Way to buy your girlfriend's affection, Zach, man.
And the teens go on their date in this crazy fancy restaurant, which in English is the Snail Head Restaurant, or the Head Snail Restaurant, I believe.
It's all in French.
Then later, like an 80s soul music video, Zach serenades Angela only for Skull to kill the ambience. Angela and Zach kiss and make up. Not an epic climax to the season, but it's an emotional one. Cannot wait to see what happens next with this love story. On another note, composer Ron Wasserman was able to contribute original songs he'd written. For example, Fight, Combat, 541, We Need a Hero, I Will Win, and Go Green Ranger Go, Tommy's legendary theme, although this season features an earlier prototype.
Go Green Ranger, go, go!
Very angsty, Ron Wasserman. I love it. They recycled footage from Food Fight. The Pudgy Pig costume is the same, but story-wise the monster isn't. Rita casts a spell over Norman, a pig that Bulk and Skull adopt.
You are the smartest pig in the world. Yes, you are.
Oh, Bulk does have a good side. The Ranger's suit acting in the American footage is very good here. Norman dances, trying to woo a lady pig at the farm.
Oh, how sweet. He's in love.
That line really warms my heart. Well done, Twee Trang. After mending a device to reverse the process, Billy turns Norman back to normal. At least the Rangers didn't just destroy the monster this time. Previously unused Ranger monsters included the terrible Octoplant,
Acting like I was part of your property.
The monster's flower head makes it look like a Pokemon. The face is cool, but the costume is generic green and silver with a flower skirt. Humorously, the monster's downfall was vanity. It notices itself reflected in the skyscraper and is transfixed. Very silly, but it means the Megazord had a chance to beat it with the Power Sword. Something we'll see a lot in these episodes with little exception. Another was a chimera, called Gotan in Power Rangers, as it had the head of a lion and a goat. Oh, so he's the devil, kind of.
Gotan equals Satan.
Anyway, two heads are indeed better than one, as we see with the parrot monster. In the clip show Crystal of Nightmares, we see Goldar's new face they built for the American footage. Maybe it was deemed inoperable after a while, or it was broken and remade, as it looks similar to Ranger, but not the same. He looks less like a gorilla or whatever now, more like a jackal, with a black dog-looking nose now too. Goldar activates the crystal ball.
Can I play with madness?
and corrupts the Rangers' dreams into nightmares. Bulk and Skull, of all things, dream of being superheroes, reusing costumes from Doomsday. Together, via Ultra 90s food advertising worthy effects, they are the Burgersaurus and Dogosaurus. They use the Megazord but can't operate it and destroy it. Oh well, at least they want to be good guys, kind of. It's cool how the cockpit looks good, like the exterior of the cockpit from Zyuranger, but the interior of the cockpit looks nothing like it. Dark inside, and the controls are different, cheaper looking. This dream sequence serves as a Power Rangers parody based on the Sentai footage. The original Ju2 monster designs reminded me of what Toei would go on to do, with Hyakuju Sentai Gaoranger. Yes, it is pronounced like that. Adapted into Power Rangers Wild Force. The Ju2 monsters included the toxic goo fish. The more abstract monster design reminded me of Gaoranger. Also the way it's shot using flip photography, and the quick smash cuts in extreme close-up. Just add this sound effect, and it's ripped straight from that season. Also the suit acting being very dance-like too. The Oysterizer monster, yes, the Oysterizer, is shot similarly. There's the giant flea monster that sounds like a demented chipmunk. There's a squid monster, though they call him a jellyfish. What were the writers thinking? Its costume looks like Jackson Pollock whitewashed it. Reminds me of The Deep with the opaque use of white. There's a ninja praying mantis monster, complete with comedically long arms. There's the Grumblebee. Nice pun name for a bee monster. Another bird-themed monster is the Peckster, who can destroy buildings via windstorms induced by wing flapping. Then there's the rapping pumpkin head monster.
Welcome to my pumpkin patch. Perhaps you'd like to play some catch.
A personal favourite, along with the pumpkin putties, putty heads. I don't even know. They do have funny little dances though. His upside-down head is really funny and creepy. The tough armadillo, or sockadillo monster, can curl up. There's a hammerhead shark monster with its magic boomerang. One of the funnier designs is the Lizinator, just the way they dub it with its Arnold Schwarzenegger voiceover.
I'll be back.
Amazing and hilarious. He looks like a Komodo dragon, but also like Rawhead Rex if he were in a PG movie. Also, he has lethal tuna breath. Another burrowing monster is the Rhino Blaster, with its weird bat ears. In Mighty Morphin Mutants, talk about a TMNT ripoff title, Rita uses the Badges of Darkness for the putties to become evil mutant clone rangers.
It's mutant time!
All except Red. That slot is filled by her crayfish monster. Cool mixture of the costumes. The Rangers' costumes are there, but the belts, gloves and boots are all from the putty costumes. The putties look like goofy and disturbing interpretive dancers by the end of their tenure in Season 1. The clones fight with their own power blaster, but it's made with the old-fashioned weapons that the unmorphed Zyurangers used early on. The final monster of Season 1 was the Oysterizer, yes, the Oysterizer, who uses slimy, infectious acid gel, and can even turn people into statues with its magic pearls.
Talk about overkill.
The pearls are given to Zack, who is about to give them to Angela as a gift. Oops. Zack warns Tommy not to touch him lest the Oysterizer gel infect him, but Tommy lets him wear his dragon shield to protect him and repair the current damage. Epic shot.
Thanks, Tommy. What about you? I'll be okay.
The giant pearl is destroyed and they brawl. Megazord was never meant to work underwater, no duh, but Dragonzord can help as it hides underwater. Upon their victory, the teens toast to teamwork in the juice bar. Well folks, that was my review of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1. I hope you enjoyed. I'll soon make my comparison video for this season, with the Super Sentai season this was based on, 1992's Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger. Stay tuned to my channel for more content folks. Take care and let the power protect you, always.
To the future.